How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about FuboTV. I know it's been a minute, but you guys know this was one of my high conviction plays. I was telling you guys to load up when it was in the $17 range. And even after I said that, the stock ended up pulling back to like 15 and as well as 14. But again, we ended up seeing some recent highs of $35. So I know many of you have told me you've taken profits since you already got your double up. I myself, I've taken profits as well, but I still hold a position at that $17 level because I do believe in the long-term prospects. But I won't waste any more time since they do have earnings that's coming up, so let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know those key levels in a bearish case scenario and as well as in a bullish case scenario. I want to make sure you guys have your right entries if you're considering it. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information and as well as the recent institutional ownership. The reason why the short interest is important, we want to know what is the overall market sentiment and does it have short squeeze potential. What this means is if we have a lot of volume coming into the stock, then this stock can move fairly quickly. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know what was the buying and as well as the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. We'll be able to see this over the past 5 trading days. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for FuboTV. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So ended up closing at $32.82, being up 0.40%. On the low, it tested $32.01, and then on the high, testing $33.22. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 4.549 million shares, and then for the average volume over 10 trading days being at 5.852 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, but not a big difference whatsoever, but we did see some strength inside of the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the 1-year daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 64.97. So again, we are coming off being in that overbought territory, still fairly there, and now we're just kind of going sideways. And now when we take a look at our moving averages here, we have strength above the 50-day, the 100-day, the 200-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So another thing that I want to point out, when I was talking about FUBO, I was talking about loading up when it was in the $17 range and even got as low as 14 as well, and I got a lot of hate for that. But of course, if you have been continuing to hold your position, you've already doubled up your money already. So I know many people who watch this channel have taken profits. I've also taken profits on this play. We've done fairly well, but I do believe in the long-term prospects, part of the reasons why I do hold some shares. But in regards to the price action, we could see here, I'd be very curious to see if we could hold support right at this $32 level. We ended up testing $32.01 on the Friday, and if we're able to actually hold that up going into earnings on November the 9th, I think it'd be a good look, and especially if we could show big time improvements in the earnings report, I don't see why we should not be able to get to $36 plus. Now, as far as for the bearish case scenario, because it has been on quite a downtrend since testing $35.12, which has been in the area of resistance in the past. You guys can see this right over here and over here as well. So keeping that in mind, I wouldn't be shocked if we decide to pull back even further and get down to around this $30.70 range. That would be the most bearish case scenario there. And if the earnings don't end up being great, they do have a history of underperforming. But do keep in mind, I can see the stock maybe pulling back all the way here to the 50-day around the $27 range. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for FuboTV. Scrolling down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So what you could see right away for November the 5th filings, we have IMC Chicago LLC that went in with 35,376 shares. And they also do have position in regards to calls and as well as puts. So of course they are hedging. If we take a look now, we do have a closed position here from Advisory Services Network, and it looks like they completely closed it out. And if we take a look at November the 4th, we have some more closed positions as well. We have a new position on November the 3rd for Herald Advisors Inc. purchasing 400 shares. We have some more closed positions. We also have O'Neill Global Advisors that purchased just over 32,000 shares on the 2nd. And if we go back even further, we could see Vanguard did load up a lot when it came to shares. We also do see this with Goldman Sachs. Most notable position out of all of them was right here from Vanguard at 301,311. And then as far as for the one behind that, which was from Vanguard again, it was at 128,623. And again, these filings were at the end of October. Now, when we take a look at the short interest information, the dark pool short volume ratio is at 45.93%. And then for the dark pool short volume being at 838,823 shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 6.1 million, updated 8 minutes ago. And then for the short ball fee rate, it is at 0.56%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume ratio, we can see for the close on Thursday last week, it was 40.48. And now for the Friday that just passed, it's at 45.93. So that is fairly high right there. And what that tells me, there's a lot of negative market sentiment around FUBO stock. Many are saying, you know what, the price needs a haircut. So any traders who are inside of this play and knowing that the short interest is this high and FUBO has short squeeze potential, if we end up getting a good earnings report, we can look forward to seeing some really strong moves in price action. And was part of the reasons when I was covering the technicals, it could be a very interesting play for the short term. Anyone going in for the long term, of course, this is a growth stock, so you want to make sure you time your entries correctly. So now let's jump into the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for FuboTV. So we can see here on the inflow is 23.71, and then on the outflow it was 23.20. So we ended up having an inflow day by a very slim margin. And when we take a look at the breakdown, it was 0 on the large, 15.96 on the medium, and then on the small it was 7.75. Keep in mind this is in the millions. When we take a look at the outflow side, it was 0 on the large, on the medium it was 16.68, and then on the small it was 6.52. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see zeros down the board, including the Friday, also last week Thursday and Wednesday. We did have an outflow day on the Tuesday, which was the second, of negative 755.33, but we did have an inflow day on the Monday at 627.16. Now, when we take a look at the turnover ratio, we could see it's at 3.21%. So what this tells us right away, the majority of shareholders that are inside of FuboTV, they are not selling. And there's also not a ton of traders in this play either. So that is also good to know, especially if you're in this play for the long term, because that means institutions have a good amount of ownership when it comes to the overall shares. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to show you the shareholder breakdown. So as we take a look at it, you can see for the institutions, they own 38.57%. For the corporations, they own 16.54%. As far as insiders, they own 9.17%. And as far as shares available to the public, so like the retail investors and traders like ourselves available, is at 35.72%. And also in the past month, institutions have increased their position by 0.11% in FuboTV. So this is also really good to see. Yes, institutions have loaded up on shares, and on top of that, there's not a lot of selling that is happening. It is not as liquid. There's other plays we've covered on this channel, which you know, the ones that are really volatile. You'll see turnover ratios above 50%, even above 30%, above 20%, and so on. But for FUBO being at such a low number, that is very good to see, especially if you're in this play for the long term like myself. So now let's jump into the final thoughts, and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for FuboTV, it's definitely going to be an interesting week. They do have earnings that is coming up on November the 9th, so there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this. I know for a fact I'm not looking for FUBO to be profitable whatsoever. This is a growth stock, and you know there's going to be a lot of growing pains. As far as for the past earnings report, again, there haven't been any beats. But what really matters is growth. The market is pricing that in. So if we see on this earnings report that they're showing some strong growth, then I could see some appreciation in the stock. It might even pull back, but again, you have to wait for the right opportunity, and I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on this channel. Now, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, yes, FUBO does have short squeeze potential, and this is why I'm saying if the earnings report ends up being a surprise and they beat expectations, this stock can really start taking off, and it's part of the reasons why I keep it on my watch list aside from holding a position. I wouldn't mind trading it if I see a strong move. And also on top of that, as far as for the company as a whole, I love the direction that they're going in. They were talking about, hey, we're going to be launching our sportsbook. They've already launched it. And on top of that, they are constantly focusing on ways to grow. So if you're an investor in this company, there's a lot to look forward to. But do know it comes with a lot of risk. And if you are going to be adding to your positions, it is best to do that while the stock is pulling back. You don't need to rush, or you don't need to be adding to your position while the stock is seeing a lot of strength. I've realized that over the years from my investing experience, and I just want to make sure I share that with you. You don't need to FOMO. And then you can go in with a position that is best for you. It's going to be different for everyone. I, for myself, even though I do have a position and I'm holding for the long term, when I do decide to add, I'll add a little bit because I know this is a growth stock. It's going to have those pullbacks. I'd rather have most of my money concentrated in reputable companies, profitable companies that have been around for a while. And I'm talking about Apple, I'm talking about Facebook. Again, all of these companies have growth prospects and have a proven track record. As far as for FUBO, they're not at that level yet, and I completely understand that, but I really don't mind investing in them when those pullbacks occur. So with all of that said, I'm excited. Can't wait to see when those earnings come out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.